talking. If you don't like it, get the fuck out of the room.
Sounds like ultimately all he's doing is affirming that it's going to be subjective per person. He's not really making a case against it if he's trying to. I don't even understand what he's trying to get at.
Yeah, just present us your position, right? And if we don't accept it, we can raise an objection, and then you can give us arguments. But if you start doing the street epistemology stuff, I'm going to stop you. If you don't like it, get the fuck out of the room. I don't care. I'm not interested in platforming you, right?
I mean, if you're looking for an absolute necessary criteria, you're not going to find it, Doug, so make an argument.
Zoe, getting to my question about, for you specifically...
Hey, did you hear what I asked you to do? Did you hear that? I said not to start asking Zoe questions, right? Present us your position. Did you hear that? I'm talking to you, Doug. Did you hear that? Did you hear what I asked you to do?
Zoe's been answering your questions for a long time.
I think. Look, I don't really see why we're doing this. Do people agree with me that we should just fucking mute him? Because he's here to troll.
He's asked the same questions, and Zoe's already given him a lot of sufficient answers. So
yeah, but you understand. I've asked him just to avoid going through this whole rigmarole, right, of trying to entrap Zoe with some kind of Socratic approach to just state his position. Because it's just a fucking bunch of bullshit, right? Like, we've been over this before with him. Tom went over it with him, right?
I've been over it with him, and he gets cornered in the same way.
Yeah, so, look, he doesn't even want to answer, right? I've asked him point blank numerous times, doesn't even want to fucking answer. Who's objecting to us muting him?
Come on, Doug, just state the objection, man. You've got one. Just state it.
I just came back.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, so one of my objections is that there can be very feminine males out there and very masculine females out there in the world. And so when it's very complicated, as you said, Zoe, of these things called identity, if someone is a very feminine male and they think they're trans when really they're just a feminine male, what is it that switches that switch that says, oh no, they're not just a feminine male, they're trans? Like, can you help? That's my objection. And why it's very...
Wait. So you're just saying you don't understand what the distinction is in terms of necessary and sufficient conditions? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, you're cutting out. You're breaking up, Jack. Your signals.
He said, do you think the distinction is just?
I mean, Pinecreek. Obviously, nobody's saying that because if a sexual male has, feminine traits, that person. It's always not saying that person should identify as trans. I don't know what you're getting at.
Is your distinction just that you're trying to figure out what the necessary and sufficient conditions are?
Of course.
Pinecreek?
Well, it doesn't have to be sufficient, but I would at least want some conditions.
You're just not accepting the subjectivity of it, Doug. That's all this is.
Is it subjective?
I don't get it. Like, what's different? What's different?
Okay,
what's
so
different?
If it's subjective,
hey, am I audible? Hey, am I audible?
Yeah.
Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you.
You can't hear me?
No, we can hear you. You're
so, Doug, did you hear me? Did you hear me talking just now?
Yes.
Hey, Doug, did you hear me talking? See, he's just playing suicide by mod.
Yeah, he's just playing turtle. He's turtling.
Yeah. So why are we tolerating? That's what I keep asking.
He's got you local muted.
I don't think so, because he stops talking every time Jack pipes up. So I don't think that's the case. He's just unwilling to engage somebody that can really nail him down on the conceptual arena. He's not willing to go with.
You haven't made your case that he shouldn't be super muted. So I've server muted him. If people want him unmuted, you can make your case. But he's just playing suicide by mod.
Well, I guess my problem is that if all he's trying to ask is like, well, I don't know why you said it's not about the sufficient conditions, because then, but I just don't. He keeps asking the question of what. I don't know. Never mind. I just want to. Never mind. I don't want to talk about it.
It's simple.
I don't want to talk about it if he's muted.
Oh no, I don't give a shit. No, nobody should give a shit if we
Jovan,
muted
look,
or not.
if you want to engage him, I'm happy to unmute him, but I'd like somebody with mod powers to deal with the bullshit. I don't know who's here. Oh, Clipper's here. Clipper, can you deal with it?
I don't really want to. I don't like him at all.
All right. If there's mod,
I gotta be right back. I was just saying,
I've got mods. Just if Jovan tells me, I can mute him.
Well,
listen. It's
I'm
simple.
I'm gonna be gone for like 10 minutes. For this.
It's simple. The case he was just trying to make is like, you can have a male that displays feminine traits as not going to call themselves trans. You can have another one, displaying the same traits and they feel they are trans. It's going to be determined by the person depending on the strength of the feelings and all that kind of thing. There's not going to be any necessary and sufficient condition, Doug. This is why it's a very personal matter. So I don't know what he's not willing to say, I think there should be an exact set of criteria that should determine whether a person is trans. He's not willing to say that. It's dishonest as hell.
Trying to argue.
And the fact that he kept refocusing on Zoe and ignored every other objection coming at him, it's just garbage. It's dishonest.
If you give me mods, I can engage him and kick Tom out as well.
Now, what I want to be sure of, Zoe, I feel like were you okay with people stepping in and kind of like berating him a little bit for this, or were you fine with the conversation with where it was going, Zoe?
I mean, ultimately, it doesn't matter to me because, like, I know like what the game he was getting at with it was. Right. I was just trying to see like where we were going to get with it. But like that's why I said at the beginning, if the room didn't want to hear the conversation, because like I know trans issues were talked to death in here, like I was fine just waiting to talk later about it, or I would just join his Discord and then talk with him in his favorite stomping grounds or whatever, so he could have as much of a advantage as he wanted.
Zoe, you asked him what his problem was with puberty blockers, and he didn't even respond. He just pivoted to asking you questions about yourself.
Right.
Do you recall that? I think at that point you should have just held his feet to the fire and say, I actually want an answer to my question.
Yeah, that's why I pointed back to like when I was saying, we have the empirics for this, we have the data for it, and I asked him, did he have an issue with it other than like besides going to some abstract critique of trans identity in the first place, because he had already conceded all the points up until that.
Yeah, you kind of cornered him, and instead of either conceding or giving another argument, he just started to asking you about like your experience.
Well, Zoe,
yeah, strangely enough, when it turns out that no, go ahead.
Doug already lost the argument, by the way. I don't know if you picked up on it, but he ratified your position. He affirmed your position when you asked him, if someone, let's say they're born male, asks to be referred to in female pronouns, she, her, ma'am, whatever, and he says, "Yeah, I'll do that." Okay, well, you just won the argument. He just affirmed your position. So to then continue on trying to make arguments against transgenderism after affirming transgenderism just doesn't work. Now, if he would have said, "No, I'm not going to affirm that by addressing you as your preferred, female gender pronouns," then okay, I think he would have still been able to be in business. But once he affirmed it, discussion was over.
Am I the only one
you didn't pick up on that?
I've never heard him say he affirms pronouns before. Maybe I'm just mistaking him for someone else. But I thought he was someone who said he didn't.
I can't remember if he does or not.
Based I heard, he was asked if someone like Zoe asks him to address the individual.
Yeah, I know he said it today.
Yeah, well, today, by doing that, there's no further questions. He just affirmed transgender.
just can't remember if he's always said that. That's what I was wondering.
Well, he did today, so
I know he did today. Well,
there's no more argument,
anyway.
at least.
Actually, Haiti, I
he-
think he has said that he'll use them to be polite.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
just doing it to be polite. He's just doing it to be
fine.
polite.
I
Yeah,
might be
he
thinking
doesn't.
someone else.
He doesn't agree. He just is doing it because he doesn't see a problem in doing it, even though he doesn't think that's correct. He just does it because it's easy. It's easy to do.
I think you're overthinking this.
Flattery.
One, the person's actually in the server, so you could just speak to them and they can answer your question. But just to clarify, you can use a pronoun and still not affirm transgenderism.
Yeah, I
Right.
think I agree
No,
with
you
that.
can't.
You're just
No, you can't.
because you're just doing it
Yes,
to avoid
yes, you can.
social
Yes, you can.
repercussions,
then,
right?
then you
It-
don't
it
have
would
a
be
set of
like-
nuts. If you
Johnny,
believe
Okay, well that
this
could be
person-
true. That could be true.
Johnny,
Yeah, you might
it
not
would
have
be
said
like-
anything else.
It would be like you, Johnny, saying, "Hey, call me Jamie." I'd be like, "Yeah, sure, I'll call you Jamie." It doesn't mean I think you're Jamie. I can clearly see your name's Johnny, right? You can just say it, and it doesn't go further than just be respectful.
well, there's a
You don't
difference.
have to-
Yeah, but that was part of the definition of that was part of Zoe's definition of affirmation. So what you're saying actually wouldn't even apply.
If that's what they mean by
Exactly.
affirmation, then I would say that they're mistaken
Sorry.
in what affirmation actually is.
It doesn't
Affirmation
matter
is not
what
just saying the
what
word.
you think it actually is. The intention of her saying this utterance had a particular meaning, and so if we're gonna use her meaning to have a conversation, then what you said is just wrong. Period.
So, just to confirm, what was the meaning that they said?
Her definition of affirmation, one of the components of it was the usage of pronouns. So you're saying you can affirm without using pronouns is silly, stupid, dumb, idiotic.
Wait, you said one of, as in like you have to do multiple to meet the affirmation, but one part of it would be using pronouns.
That's
so-
a component, yeah, a necessary component.
Yeah. Necessary component doesn't mean you.
So you couldn't have affirmation without that.
But just having that alone doesn't mean you've achieved affirmation. If I have an orange and a glass, I don't have orange juice until I've.
What's the
squeezed
point?
the
You
orange
can't.
in
The
glass.
point is you can't have affirmation without it.
Yeah,
And
but
your
just
statement was
having it-
you can
just
have
having it-
affirmation without it. That's just wrong.
No,
You're wrong.
no,
You
my-
are wrong.
That's not what I said. I said
Yes, it is.
simply acknowledging the pronouns is not affirmation. So you're wrong. You've just
That's not what
acknowledged
you
that it's
said.
just
You
a
said you could
component.
have affirmation without acknowledging pronouns.
No, I said.
And then I came in and then I said no because she defined affirmation as
you can acknowledge someone's pronouns and still not affirm. That was what I said. So you're wrong.
you can acknowledge someone's pronouns and still not affirm.
I don't know why that's hard. That's really easy.
I don't think that's what you said.
Okay, well, you're wrong. Well, it's okay. I acknowledge you have a picture of a rabbit. I don't think you're a rabbit. I don't think you're a rabbit.
Right, but not it was using pronouns.